All right, to both say good morning. Good morning. Let us begin. Begin by thanking all of our sponsors for this morning's share. To thank our Talmud Torah sponsors, our annual Talmud Torah sponsor for Tov Shin Pei Hey, the Tilson Family for dedicating all the Shir Drashos this year as a zechus for besuros tovos for all of Am Yisroel. Talmud Torah sponsors for the month of Adler, Lavine, Teri and Steve Zinn, loving memory of Teri's father, Dr. Harry Kahn, Tzvi Hersch, Ben Yosef, HaKohen, the Ziv, Lavine, and Behrman families in memory of Mr. Willian Ziv, Zev Shmuel, Ben Yisroel, and our week of learning sponsors, Nathan and Beth Adler, in memory of Judy, Goldman, Yehudis, Esther, Beth, Elozer, we hope that at the merit of our Talmud Torah, all of the Neshamos Lavine Aliyah, the families in Nechama, all those in the Refuah Shavim together with Kol Yisrael, may Kadosh Baruch Hu bring all of our hostages home, and may our holy soldiers be successful. B'chol Maasei Yedehem. But with that, let us begin. So we have a lot to do today, Baruch Hashem. Today's daf is Tzadik Ches 98. We are picking up on Tzadik Zayin Amud Beis 97b, and we are picking up in the about 5 lines before the widest lines. 5 lines before the widest lines. Amra Abaye. Okay, Amra Abaye. There are never less than 36 tzaddikim who are able to receive the face of the Shekhinah in every generation. Suppose say this is the Gemara, famous Gemara. We all know this. Lamed Vav tzaddikim in every generation who are able, again, now this lashon of the Mekable Ape Pnei Shekhinah, who are able to receive the Shekhinah. Shnei Mar Ashrei Kol Choche Lo. Praiseworthy are those who wait for him. Lo. And lo in Gematria, Lamed Vav, lo begematria, Tlasan V'Shisav is 36. Incredible. That's all, it's only 36. Vamarava. Dara Kame Kucharichu, Timne Sari Alfi, Timne Sari Alfi. But yet again, Rava said that the row that sits before HaKodesh Baruch Hu, which means the tzaddikim, who are closest to HaKodesh Baruch Hu, number 18,000. 18,000. So what's going on over here? So the 36 is 18,000. So the Gemara says, Shnei Emar Soviv, Shmona Sar Elef. So the Gemara says, Lo Kasha, Had Mistakli B'Ispaklari D'Meira, Had Mistakli B'Ispaklari She'ina Meira. So there are different levels. Ispaklaria means vision. So there's Ispaklaria Meira, which means total clarity of vision, and Ispaklaria She'ina Meira, a little bit of a cloudier vision. Different types of vision. So there are 36 tzaddikim who see HaKodesh Baruch Hu be'ispaklaria me'ira, complete, clear vision. Then there are many others who perceive HaKodesh Baruch Hu, but the vision is not as clear. So the Gemara says, but are there really so many tzaddikim? Are there 18,000 people who perceive HaKodesh Baruch Hu? We'll say, even the level of ispaklaria she'ina me'ira is still a very high level. Are there that many people who have that clarity of vision? Listen to this. Both say this is incredible Gemara. So Chizkiah said to Rabbi Yirmiyah, said to Rabbi Shmuel Silber, Ra'isi b'nei aliyah v'hein mu'atim. I have seen b'nei aliyah, and there are few amongst them. Few b'nei aliyah. I will say, Now, what does this mean? So Rabbi Shmuel is making a tremendous statement that there are, in life, one of the hardest qualities to find is b'nei aliyah. Now, what does it mean to be a ben aliyah? To be a ben aliyah means, just like what it says, to be a person who desires growth. It's interesting. There's a lot of Talmidei Chachamim. Because what do you have to do in order to become a Talmid Chacham? What do you have to do? Study Torah. Studying Torah is profoundly and inherently enjoyable. Plenty of Talmidei Chachamim. There are actually plenty of people who are also Gomlei Chasadim, who do Chasad. Because Chasad is also inherently enjoyable. Who wouldn't want to do it? Rashbi says the hardest thing to find in this world is B'nei Aliyah. People who really want to grow. People who really want to grow. And want to grow at all times. Now again, it doesn't mean they're tzaddikim. And it doesn't mean they're Gaonim. It just means that they're never happy with where they are and they always are looking for more. So Rabbi Shmuel Silber says it's very difficult to find them. Im Aleph, if there are 1,000, if there are 1,000 in the world, Ani Ubana Mehem, then me and my son, remember again, his son was Elozer, right? My son and I, we are counted amongst them. Im Meah, If there's 100, ani ubini mihen, then my son and I are also amongst them. Im shnayim, if there are only 2 bnei aliyah in this entire world, ani ubini, it's me and my son. Now, both say, I just want to point out, you read Gemara like this, like, whoa, okay. It's not gaiva. It's not gaiva, both say, it's knowing who you are. Rabbi Shmuel Bar Yochai understood that if there was one thing that he possessed in this world, is that he was a ben aliyah. He wanted more. He always wanted more. And his son Rabbi Elozer, even more than his father. So Rabbi Yochai said, listen, I don't know how many bnei aliyah there are in this world. But all I can tell you like this, even if there's only 2, I know that it's me and my son. The point of here, both sides, Rabbi Shmuel Bar Yochai is saying, I don't know how many bnei aliyah there are. I don't know how many there are. So now the Gemara is saying 36, 18,000. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. The Gemara says as follows: Lo kasha hada aili bebar hada aili belobar. Okay, so we'll say, so once again, the Gemara gives kind of the same type of answer, which is there are plenty of bnei aliyah. What it's saying is like this, or plenty of people, or plenty of tzaddikim even. There are some types of tzaddikim or bnei aliyah who are able to enter into HaKadosh Baruch Hu without permission, and others who require permission. So there are many who could enter, now, whatever this means, there are many who could enter with permission. There's a select few who could enter even without permission. Now, of course, the notion of entering before HaKadosh Baruch Hu without permission represents metaphorically this incredibly high spiritual level. So you'll find many holy people, but there's a certain cadre, a certain group of people that, so to speak, have the ability to enter in before HaKadosh Baruch Hu whenever they want. Look at Rashi for just a moment. Rashi says, Hada aili bebar, shetzrichen lito rishos, kishenechnosin, listakla bispaklaria meira, bahano lo pechisim mitlasen v'shis. Aval olsan echnosin below rishos, berov tzidkam, supposed to listen to this. So now what the Gemara is suggesting is as follows. There are 36 tzaddikim in this world who are able to go ahead and enter into HaKadosh Baruch Hu with permission. And when they enter in with permission, they're able to see Hashem b'ispaklaria me'ira, with clarity of vision. And then there is some unknown number of people, probably a much smaller number of people, who are able to enter into HaKadosh Baruch Hu without permission, whatever this means, and also have that clarity of vision. So 36 is the number of people, ispaklaria me'ira, but need permission to enter. And then some smaller group afterwards that don't need permission and also have this ispaklaria me'ira. Incredible. So the Gemara goes weiter. The Gemara says, Amrav, kalu kalakitz, and I will say, so this is really incredible. After this entirely exhaustive discussion about Mashiach, so what ends up happening? So Rav comes along and says as follows: Kala kala kitzin. So many people made calculations when Mashiach is coming. All of those times, excuse me. All of those times have already come and gone. They've come and gone. Kala kala kitzin. And now at this point, in adavar tale ela b'tshuva ma'asim tovim. If we want Mashiach, we need tshuva and we need ma'asim tovim. So I will say a dramatic shift. Rav says, stop with the guessing the dates. Stop with trying to figure it out. Any dates that anyone made beforehand historically, those dates have come and gone. Mashiach is still going to come, but the only way he's going to come is if we bring him. And how do we bring him? Ultimately, again, tshuva ma'asim tovim. Shmuel says, dayo la'avel sheya'amod be'evlo. Ultimately, again, it is enough for the Avel to stay in his Avel. So what does this mean? So Shmuel says, no. Just like an Avel who's suffering, what happens? Shiva ends. Shiva comes to an end. Shmuel says, Galus will come to an end and Mashiach will come. So what's a fundamental machlokes between Rav and Shmuel? Working backwards, Shmuel still holds there is a date by which Mashiach will come. A defined date. We deserve it, we don't deserve it, it almost doesn't matter. Mashiach will come. Rav saying that's not true. All of the dates have already passed. They've already passed. At this point, now it's up to us to bring Mashiach only through our tshuva and our ma'asim tovim. Incredible. The Gemara goes weiter. Kitanai, this is machlokes among Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Am Yisroel also tshuva nigalin, v'im lav ein nigalin. Rabbi Elozer says, if Klal Yisrael does tshuva, Mashiach will come. if we don't do tshuva, he won't come. Amar Rabbi Yeshua, Emeinos in tshuva ein nigalin. Really? If we don't do tshuva, there's no geula. Ela Kadosh Baruch Hu ma'amid lo hamelech shegzeros of kashas kahamin v'Yisrael osin tshuva machzir l'motav. It's not true. If we don't do tshuva, so then what happens? What happens? The Rebbe shall orchestrate situations through which we have to do tshuva. He'll create or put a despotic king upon us, and that despotic king will force us to go ahead and do tshuva, return us to our correct ways. Tanya idach, Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Am Yisroel osin tshuva nigalin. Rabbi Elozer says, if we do tshuva, we'll be redeemed. Shnei mar shuv banim shovavim erpam mishul seichem. Amar lo Rabbi Yeshua, v'lo kvar ne'amar chinam nikarta v'lo b'kasef tigalu. So yet the pasuk says you were sold for nothing and you will not be redeemed with money. What does that mean? Chinam nikarta ba'avolos kochavim. You were sold into diaspora. You were sold into galus because of idolatry. What's the worth of idolatry? Zero. It has zero value. Yet you took it upon yourself and you were sold as a result of it. V'lo b'kasef tigalu. You will not be redeemed with money. Lo b'tshuva u'maisim tovim. Not even through tshuva and maisim tovim will you be redeemed. In other words, it's not tshuva and maisim tovim that bring Mashiach. Rather, again, there's a date. There's a time, and when that time comes, Mashiach will emertza Hashem come. Says Amar lo Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Yoshua. V'lo kvar ne'amar shuvei lai v'shuva aleichem. But the pasuk says, return to me and I return to you, which sounds like a Kadosh Baruch Hu is saying to us, if we do tshuva, then he'll bring the geula. Amar lo Rabbi Yoshua, lo kvar ne'amar, ki anochi ba'alti bachem, v'lakachti eschem echad me'ir, v'shtayim mishpacha, ve'vesi eschem sion, which sounds like it's up to HaKodesh Baruch Hu to bring the geula. Amar lo Rabbi Eliezer, lo kvar ne'amar. So we'll say that if you know what they're doing, they're like lobbing pesukim back at each other that indicate different messianic conclusions. V'lo kvar ne'amar, b'shuva v'nachas toshion. Amar Rabbi Shmuel Silber, v'lo kvar ne'amar, Kamar Hashem, Goel Yisrael, Ukdosh Leviza, Nefesh Lemisav Goy, Le'eved Moshlim, Melachim Yiru, top of Tzadiches, Melachim Yiru, V'kamu Sarv Yishtachavu, Amar Rabbi Elozer, v'lo kvar ne'amar, Im Tashuv Yisrael Nu'um Hashem, Elai Tashuv. So once again, Rabbi Elozer says, but the pasuk says, if Chai Yisrael does tshuva, Kadosh Baruch Hu will return to us. Amar Rabbi Yeshua, v'lo kvar ne'amar, ve'eshma es ha'ish levush habadim asher mimal lemeimei hayor, v'yorem yimino v'smolo al hashemayim, v'yishba v'chaye olam bilamoid mo'adim, v'chatzi kavalos nafas yad am kadosh techaleno kolok, v'shaz Rabbi Elozer. Suppose at this point again, Rabbi Eliezer was quiet. So what you see over here, and again, the psukim back and forth, this fundamental machlokes, Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Eliezer essentially saying, not essentially, Rabbi Eliezer is saying that halacha l'ma'aseh klal Yisrael does tshuva will be redeemed. Rabbi Yeshua, that's not the way it works. Geula comes, Mashiach comes when Hashem ordains it. They throw psukim back and forth at each other. The conclusion, the way the Gemara ends, but the conclusion is that Rabbi Eliezer ultimately again was refuted by Rabbi Yeshua's psukim. So it sounds like over here that the sheet of Rabbi Yeshua, which is that Mashiach comes when HaKadosh Baruch Hu chooses to bring him, that seems to be the opinion that triumphs. So again, that's in this conversation. Just understand there are these two profound messianic models that remain outstanding. So when does Mashiach come? Does Mashiach come when we do tshuva, or does Mashiach come almost independent of our tshuva when HaKadosh Baruch Hu ordains it? Like, is there just some point in time by which the world has to be redeemed? Machlokes, incredible. Va'amar Rabbi Abba, both say, by the way, you'll say to yourself, 1 second, how could this remain unresolved? Right? We have to we have to know these things. And what's the answer? No, we don't. Because the truth is, I will say, this is the same way why the whole concept of Mashiach is not even explicitly mentioned in the Torah. To be honest, the Ribono Shel Olam does not want us to be messianically focused. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to be focused on maximizing time in this world. That's our avoda. Our avoda is to become the best version of ourselves. Our avoda is to become Bnei Aliyah. Our avoda is to make a difference in the world. Our avoda is to help others. Whether Mashiach comes because of to become Baalei Tshuva, whether Mashiach become flip out, like we spoke about, right? Whether our tshuva ultimately again, whether Mashiach is coming because of tshuva, or whether Mashiach is coming ultimately again because of some type of end date, to a certain degree, is irrelevant. I believe he's going to come. Like we saw in yesterday's daf. I know that I'm going to wait for him every single day, but not passively wait for him. And the Kadosh Baruch Hu will figure it out. It's not really my job. My job, maximize this world, maximize this life, maximize my abilities. Let's go right there. From Rabbi Abba, Ein Kate in L'cha Kate Megula Mizeh. So ultimately, against Rabbi Abba says, there is no more revealed date than this. Now Rashi says over here, now what does this mean? Rabbi Abba says, if you want, this is incredible, I will say, if you want signs of Mashiach, right? We'll say, we look at this all the time. Like, the truth is, I can live without knowing the date of Mashiach. Just what do I want to know? What do I want to know? That is close, right? I just want to know that we're headed in the right direction. So this, by the way, is an incredible Gemara. Rabbi Abba says, Ein lecha kates migula mizeh. If you want to know the most overt sign that Mashiach is coming, Rabbi will say, what is it? Shnei Amar, va'atem, Hare Yisrael, anpechem titenu, uperichem tisu la'amei Yisrael. So beautifully, the Gemara quotes the pasuk from Yecheskel. Yecheskel says, when the land comes back to life, when the trees produce their fruit, when the vines produce their fruit, that's how you know that Mashiach is coming. When Klal Yisrael is not in Eretz Yisrael, the land is dormant. When Klal Yisrael is in Eretz Yisrael, the land comes back to life, and the more the land produces, the closer you know Geula is. Rashi says over here, Migula Mizu, it's the first short line, Kishetiten Eretz Yisrael Pirya Ba'ayin Yafeh. When Eretz Yisrael produces fruit, Ba'ayin Yafeh in good measure, Ad Yikrav HaKetz Ve'ein Lecha HaKetz Megula Yoser. You know Mashiach is close, and there is no greater revelation about the closeness of Mashiach than the vitality of the land rebounding. We'll say, that's how you know, okay, we have a little bit of a running joke inside the shul here. They always say, this is why, we live in a time where Eretz Yisrael produces award-winning wines. Award-winning wines, right? The number of boutique wineries in Eretz Yisrael is astounding. The number of established wineries in Eretz Yisrael and I will say, it's not just that there's good wine coming out of Eretz Yisrael. It's that it is the ultimate sign that Geula is close. So how could one drink wine that is anywhere from Eretz Yisrael? Every sip of Eretz Yisrael wine is a sip of Geula. It's a sip of Geula. It's literally what is also. It is the most. Do you remember? Some of us are old enough to remember, right? That remember what used to be the selection of kosher wine. What was it? It was Manischewitz, like in the square bottle, like the square bottom bottle, right? And that was it. Or some Malaga, right? And like the big thing with the little handle on top, that was it. It's not so long ago. I remember that when I was a kid. It's not so long ago. And I'm going to say now, it's incredible. Now, you couldn't drink all the wine if you want. I guess you could drink all the wine if you wanted to, right? Clear your schedule. But it's incredible. And it's not just something, it's so nice. It's a sign of Mashiach. So, just as an aside, because it's a sign of Mashiach, it's so important to support that industry as well. So important to put our money there as well, because at the end of the day, that's facilitating messianic advancement as well. Incredible. Someone goes weiter. Rabbi Elozer says, Af mizeh sheneh emar ki lifnei hayomim ha'eleh haim schara adam lo niyeh u'schar behema einena u'liyotze v'lavo ein shalom min hatzar. So Rebbe says there's another sign of impending messianic arrival, which is that as messianic arrival approaches, there will not be money to pay the wages of people, not be money to pay the wages of animals, right? And to those who are going and coming, there is no respite from the enemy. What does that mean? Even Talmidei Chachamim, who are known for possessing tranquility. Dichsev Shalom Rav, Li'ohavei Sarasecha, Ve'ein Shalom Mipnei Tzar. Even Talmidei Chachamim, who are known for their tranquility, because Torah engenders a sense of tranquility. Shalom Rav. There is great peace for those who love Torah. So we know this from our own lives. When you learn, and when you are steeped in learning, there's a certain calmness, a certain soothing, a certain tranquility that you have in life. So even Talmidei Chachamim, by definition, possess that tranquility in the days leading up to Mashiach, will not be able to find that tranquility. So also, I just want to point out how interesting this is. On one hand, right, the first opinion says you have Rabbi Abba saying the sign of impending messianic arrival is the land will come back to life. Land will come back to life. And then you have Rav who says, right, what does it mean? There's going to be so much turbulence. So we'll say, so once again, these competing narratives, right? Is the pre-messianic arrival, is it kind of heralded by beautiful growth? or is it heralded by incredible and overwhelming difficult circumstances? And by the way, it's also not mutually exclusive. It could seems to be, maybe it's both. Shmuel says, Shmuel says, the sign of messianic arrival is that all pricing will be the same. Now, Rashi understands this as well. This could be good or this could be bad, right? This could be good, meaning that everything will be generally inexpensive, or that no, even inexpensive staple items will be as expensive as luxury items. Okay? Mashiach only comes, we'll say, so again, this is part of the suffering motif here. Mashiach only comes when there's incredible suffering, in this case financial suffering, and poverty. That literally, now interestingly enough, we'll remember again, we know from the Gemara's perspective, the remedy for everything is fatty meat, undiluted wine. Right? It works for everything, apparently, right? So the Gemara, don't knock it till you try it, right? So the Gemara says as follows. So the Gemara says, when Mashiach, the days before Mashiach, there's going to be such poverty that you won't even be able to find meat for a sick person. Not only that, after meat, the next best thing, I guess, according to the Gemara, is fish. You won't even be able to find fish for a sick person. V'lo yimaz shnei amar, az ashkia mimeim v'narosam, b'shemen olich, v'ksav b'yom atzmiach karen lebeis Yisrael. Rabbi Chama bar Chanina. In ben David ba, at shetichla malchus hazala mi Yisrael. This is incredible. Rabbi Chama bar Chanina says, Mashiach only comes when there's a total loss of autonomy for Klal Yisrael. Now, malchus hazala means even a little bit of autonomy. Right? So in other words, even when Klal Yisrael is ruled by other people, there's usually some element of autonomy that's there. When Mashiach comes, there's a loss of any level of autonomy. Shene'emar v'karas hazalzala b'mizmaros u'ksib asrei pa'isahu yoval shai la'Hashem tzvakos imimshach umorat. Amar Ziri, Amar Rabbi Chanina, ein ben David ba at sheyichlu gasei ruach miYisrael. This is a wild Gemara. When does Mashiach come? Mashiach comes ultimately again when there are no gasei ruach, when arrogant people disappear from Klal Yisrael. We'll say, what does this mean? What does this mean? That ultimately again, arrogance is what keeps Mashiach away. Isn't that incredible? Right? So when there are no more arrogant people, that's when ultimately again Mashiach will come. We'll say, Tzadik Chesed Aleph 98a, about four lines up from before it gets wide. Shene'emar ki az asir mikirbecha alecha gavasecho ksiv v'isharti bikirbecha am ani vidal v'chasa b'shem Hashem. Rabbi Shmuel Silber, so we'll say, by the way, this is going to start another motif, that it's arrogance that keeps Mashiach away. It's arrogance that keeps Mashiach away. We'll say, now what's the logic behind that, right? The logic behind that is because, remember again, well, let's see inside. So the Gemara goes weiter. So Amar Rabbi Shmuel, Mishum Rabbi Elozer, Rabbi Shimon, Ein ben David ba, ad sheyichlu kol shoftim v'shotshim Yisrael. Mashiach only comes when the judges and enforcers no longer exist for Klal Yisrael. Now this is talking about corrupt judges and corrupt enforcers, people who exploit their power for self-gain. Shene'emar va'ashiva yadi alecha ve'etzrav kabar sigecha va'ashiva shavtayach. Amar Ula, it was this beautiful. And Yerushalayim niftis ella b'tzedakah. We'll say first wide line. Ula says that Yerushalayim is only redeemed with tzedakah. Shene'emar Tzion b'mishpat tibadeh v'shaveh b'tzedakah. Right? Tzion will be redeemed with mishpat, with justice. V'shaveh b'tzedakah, and we will return to it with tzedakah. And I will say, this is very important. So whenever we read this Gemara, we say, wow, what a beautiful Gemara. What do you see from here? That tzedakah, that chesed is the key to Geula. Rabbi Dr. Abraham Twersky, Yahrzeit, says something very beautiful. Not in this Gemara, but just in a general sense. He says, one of the most mistranslated words in all of Yiddishkeit is tzedakah. He says, we translate tzedakah as charity. As charity. He says, that's not what tzedakah means. What's the shorish of tzedakah? Is it tzedek? What does tzedek mean? Justice. But Twersky says like this. In life, there are people who have and there are people who don't have. And the way it works is, if you don't have, you must share with those who don't have. It's not charitable. It's not something nice. It's not something beautiful. It's the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu programmed the world to work. So in other words, just like those who don't have need to receive, those who have need to give. I will say, and this is incredibly important because a lot of times we look at our tzedakah activities, we look at our chesed activities as like voluntary. This is like my charity work. It's beautiful. Look, it's not. It is the moral obligation that we have. That if you have more than you need, Baruch Hashem, we should all be zocheh to that, then by definition, there is the moral obligation. It's tzedakah, it's tzedek, it's justice to do for the other. It's not just with your money. It's not just with your money. It's with your time, it's with your resources, it's with your abilities. There is a moral obligation to give and to share with the other. So what does the Gemara say? I think the Gemara is saying is like this. So, the I will say, interestingly enough, when does Mashiach comes? Mashiach comes when we realize that helping each other is not something that's nice, but helping each other is something that is an absolute requirement and obligation. So the moment that we realize that tzedakah is not charity, but tzedakah is tzedek, is justice, and suddenly again I have a moral clarity and a moral obligation to help. Of course I have to give. Of course I have to do. Of course I have to be there for the other. Not because it's nice, not because it's chesed, not because it's this, but because, and most of that's between chesed and tzedakah, right? Chesed represents things that maybe you're not obligated to do, but you go above and beyond. Tzedakah represents things that you do that you're obligated to do. The moment those kind of like nice things become obligatory things in our hearts, that's the moment that at the end of the day Mashiach comes. It's incredible. Papa, ibatli Yehudi, batli amgushi. So Papa's like this. If arrogant people would no longer exist, the Amagushis would no longer exist as well. Who are the Amagushis? Rashi points out over here, they were Persian sorcerers. So the idea over here is as long as there are arrogant Jews, there's going to be Persian sorcerers. Batli daini, batli gizrifti. And if corrupt judges would stop to exist, so too corrupt Gentile judges would cease to exist as well. In other words, well said, the idea is we bring about a lot of the negative forces in the world. If we're arrogant, then we bring about these sorcerers who do negative things. If we have corrupt judges, then we bring about Gentile corrupt judges who do the same. So the Gemara goes weiter. Batli hiri, batli amagushi, tichsev ve'etzov kabar sigayach, vasir kol b'dilayach. Batli dayani, batli gzirafti, tichsev heisir Hashem mishpatecha, pane oivecha. Both say third wide line. Am Rabbi Yochanan. This is incredible. Imra isa darshem ismait v'holech chakelo. Both say if you see, Rabbi Yochanan says, if you see a generation that is suffering from general poverty, wait for Mashiach, which means, again, poverty is the precursor for Mashiach. Again, we've seen this motif more and more. So, Chakelo Shneimar Ves Am Ani Toshia. The Ribbon Shalom will save an impoverished nation. Am Rabbi Yochanan. Imra Isa Dershet Saros Rabos Baos Alav Kinar Chakelo. Bless you. If you see a generation where there are overwhelming saras that literally, again, are coming upon it like a river, just like the river keeps flowing, you feel like there's constant saras for Klal Yisrael. Chakelo. Ultimately, wait for Mashiach. Shnei Emar, Ki Yavo Banar Tsar, Rach Hashem Noseses Bo V'Samechlei Uva L'Tzion Goel. So we'll say it's fascinating, right? I just want to point out something, how amazing this is, and why it is like the best thing in the world to be a Jew. We'll say, look how we deal with difficult circumstances, right? If you see a generation where there's rampant poverty, or if you see a generation where there's ridiculous suffering, oh, you know what it means? You know what it means? You know what it means? Mashiach is close. We'll say, what other nation in the world thinks in this way, right? Everyone else, if things are bad, that generally means what? Most probably things are going to get worse, right? That's generally the way bad things work. For Klal Yisrael, if things are bad, just know that most probably means that chakelo. Just wait for it, because you're going to see it's about to get ridiculously amazing. I will say, and this should give us so much chesed. I think, I don't know, yesterday I had this moment where I said to myself, you know what, like I'm going to stop just listening to the news. I've had one of those days where like, this is just crazy. This is just crazy. And it's always hard to know also, like, is the news accurate? And it sounds like a little bit crazy. Is it accurate? Is it slanted? And, it's really even referred to the news out of Eretz Yisrael, right? It's so disheartening. It's so disheartening. Everything is disheartening about it. About Prime Minister is doing this, and this one's doing this, and Hersch and Beth is doing this, and ministers dancing to Naturi Karta songs. You're like, what? the heck is going on over here? What is this? It is like the ganenet. It's like the nursery school teacher went out of the room and no one is paying attention to the kinderlach, right? Kinderlach, right? And they're eating crayons. That's what it's like, right? Right? So the school teacher went out and the kinderlach are eating crayons. They're coloring on the walls, right? They're doing everything anyway. And you're like, what is this? Like, what is this? These are adults. They're responsible for millions of people. They're responsible for the future and continuity of Klal Yisrael. And acting like, to call them children is an insult to children. It's an insult to children. That's really what it is. Because children at least are, at their core are Kaddish and Tahar. And you wonder to yourself, like, what is this? No, it's the whole thing. Again, it's the new Zachary, the whole thing. And then you read a Gemara, you're like, okay. It puts a smile on your face. Because sometimes, like, the worse it looks, chakelo. Wait for it. Because the way Klal Yisrael works is, the worse it looks, just means bracha is even closer than ever before. An incredible Gemara. The Gemara goes, Rabbi Yochanan, in Ben David ba, ela bedar shekulo zakai. Listen to this. We'll say, so now, again, a reverse idea. Mashiach only comes in a generation that is totally innocent. Tzadikim. Mashiach comes when Klal Yisrael tzadikim. So we'll say, so just on the same page, same line. Mashiach only comes when there's complete poverty. Mashiach only comes when there's suffering. No, Mashiach only comes when there's complete piety. Kulachayev. Or everyone's really bad. Right? Mashiach comes either when everyone's really good or everyone's really bad. The Gemara says, b'kulachayv, b'dersh kula zakay dichsev, va'amech kulam tzadikim l'olam yershu aretz, b'dersh kula chayv dichsev, v'yar ki'ein ish, v'yishtomim ki'ein mafriyo, ksev l'ma'ani yaseh. Alright, so we'll say, so fundamental machlokas, what brings Mashiach? Amar Alexandria, Yeshua ben Levi, Rami ksev, be'ita be'ita. The pasuk says be'ita, which means Mashiach will come in its appointed time. Uksiv achishena. But then the pasuk says, I will hasten the arrival of Mashiach. So which one is it? Be'ita means Mashiach's coming at a defined time. Achishena, I will hasten the arrival of Mashiach. Which one is it? Zachu achishena, lo zachu be'ita. So if we are zocha, right? If we are meritorious, then ultimately Hashem will hasten the arrival of Mashiach. If we're not meritorious, then at the end of the day, Be'ita, he will come at his appointed time. Am Rabbi Alexandria, B'Shom Levi, Rami Ksiv, Va'aru Am Anani Shmaya, so Kibar Inish Ata, Uksiv, Ani Varochiv Al Chamar. Zachu Am Anani Shmaya, Lo Zachu Ani Rochiv Al Chamar. So once again, I will say, is Mashiach going to be someone who's like a cloud comes from the sky, or like a pauper riding on a donkey? So the clouds move in the sky very quickly. The pauper on the donkey, not so much. So which one is it? Does Mashiach come quickly, or does Mashiach come slowly? Once again, it depends on us. So we'll say, so again, in this approach in the Gemara, what you begin to see is the arrival of Messianic redemption is fundamentally dependent on us. If we're righteous, it comes faster. If we're wicked, it comes slower. Amar le Shavar Malka Shmuel. Both say this is incredible. So Shavar Malka, King Shapur, said to Shmuel, Amri so Mashiach al Chamra Asi. Now both say, by the way, this is the pasuk that we just quoted over here. This is the pasuk that tells us that Mashiach comes on a donkey. So King Shapur heard this pasuk because Mashiach comes on a donkey. He goes and says, Asi ishtar le susi barka. I'll give him my best horse to Isli. Why should Mashiach come on a donkey? I'm making a donation to the Mashiach fund, right? I hereby donate my best. Why should he come on a donkey? Right? I'm going to give him my best horse. So to which Shmuel said to King Shapur, do you have a horse of 100 colors? Now what is that going to say? So essentially what Shmuel says back to King Shapur is, you should see Mashiach's donkey, right? That's quite a donkey. In other words, you think your horse is better than his donkey, I would take the donkey of Mashiach over the nicest of your horses any day. Incredible. Rabbi Shmuel Silber say, get ready for this. Get ready for this. If your Daf Yomi Chavrusa or Chaver is not here at Shir, you should text him and you should tell him, I feel so sorry for you. My heart breaks for you that you were not able to get out of bed this morning. to be part of something dramatically life-altering, cathartic, and overwhelming. I'm sorry, clearly you must be in the throes of something major, right? Refuah shalema, right? Refuah krava lavo, hashta bagala vizman karev, right? Well, Mir Tisha will say kapitel of Tehillim for you, and hopefully you'll be back later. This is some things you miss in life. All right, 7.5 years it'll be back in Mir Tisha. Rabbi Shmuel Levi, Ashkach le'Elio. Get ready for this. Rabbi Shmuel Levi was standing at the entranceway of the grave of Rabbi Shmuel Bar Yochai. Remember again, for those who were on not the last Yahrzeit Kala, but 2 Yahrzeit Kalas ago, we went to the entranceway of the grave of Rashbi in Meron. Mamish again, there's the grave on top. Then if you know some people, you could actually go below, right to the entranceway of the Ma'ara. Literally at the entranceway of the Ma'ara. So Rabbi Shmuel Levi was standing, right, found Elio, and where was Elio? By the entranceway of the Ma'ara to Rabbi Shmuel Bar Yochai. So Amarle, Asina la'alma da'asi. It's crazy. So Rabbi Shmuel Levi says to Elio, am I going to Olam Haba? Am I going to the world to come? Amarle, Im Yirtza Adon Hazeh. If Hashem Baruch Hu wants it, no, what do you want from me? Like, I'm not in charge, right? So in other words, if Hashem wants you to be in Olam Haba, you go to Olam Haba. Rabbi Shmuel Levi, Shnayim Re'isi, V'kol Gimel Shamati. So Rabbi Shmuel Levi says, I'm standing here with you, Elio. So there's 2 of us, but I hear 3 voices. So ultimately, again, Rabbi Shmuel Levi heard whatever this means, the voice of the Shechina. Rashi says, the Shechina hava bahadayu. The Shechina was as well. So can you imagine the scene? So again, Eliyahu Hanavi is standing by the entranceway of the grave of Rabbi Shmuel Bar Yochai. So now Rabbi Shmuel Levi passes by. He's talking with Eliyahu Hanavi. Am I going to the world to come? And I was, I don't know, ask Hashem. Then Rabbi Shmuel Levi hears another voice. Hashem Baruch Hu is there as well. Amarle, Emas Asi Mashiach. So now Rabbi Shmuel Levi says to Eliyahu, when is Mashiach coming? Now, the reason why does he say this to Eliyahu Hanavi? Because the Pashas Eliyahu Hanavi is the one who comes before to announce the arrival of the Mashiach. So when is Mashiach coming? Amarle, Zil Shaile Ledidei. Go ask him. Go ask Mashiach. Ask Mashiach when he's coming. Rabbi Shmuel Levi says, okay, V'hecha Yosef. Where can I find Mashiach? Where is he that I should ask him? Apischa de Karta. He is situated at the gates of Rome. Mashiach sits at the gates of Rome. So the Gemara says, Umay Simane. And I was saying, how will I know? Fine, so I'll go to the gates of Rome. And how should I go ahead and how should I know who he is? How should I know who he is? So the Gemara says, so if you look, by the way, if you look at Rashi says over here, Bepischa de Karta, Nira Lamori, Lobe Pesach Ha'ir Mamish Ela Gan Eden, who keneget kol ha'olam v'karlam alei deba'osat sad shal gan eden sheneget Pesach Ha'ir Mashiach Shari. Rashi quotes from his teacher who says, Pesach Ha'ir doesn't mean the entrance way of the city, rather it means the entrance way of Gan Eden. But that is not the way that everyone else learns the Gemara. Everyone else learns the Gemara, they know Pesach Ha'ir literally means the entrance way to Rome. Mashiach hangs out, Mashiach resides at the entranceway to Rome. So fine, Rabbi Shmuel Levi says, okay, I'll go find him, but how do I know who he is? We're going to see there's a lot of people who are at the entranceway to the city of Rome. So how will I know who he is? Umay Simane, Yosef bene aniye sovli chaloim. Let's say, get ready for this. Who would stay at the entranceway of the Rome? The lepers. The lepers, those with saras. They were not allowed inside of the city. Mashiach lived alongside with all of the lepers. Rashi says, Sobli chaloim minugoim v'hunami minuga. So ultimately, Mashiach would live with all the lepers, and Mashiach himself was also a leper. Isn't that incredible? Also a leper. Okay, so Mashiach is also a leper. He stands with all the lepers. V'kulan sharu v'asiri b'chazimna. So now, Rabbi Shmuel Levi says, okay, I'm going to go to Mashiach. Mashiach is a leper. Say, by the way, just before you go forward, I just want to point out something absolutely amazing. We'll say, Mashiach does not walk around, right, with a long beard and distinguished clothing, and the person who we normally think is, oh, that guy is Mashiach. Mashiach is probably one of those people who we look at and we look the other direction. Who we go ahead and probably we don't take the time to say good Shabbos to. Who are the people who get a little bit more on our nerves. Or the people maybe we try to avoid. Or the people we marginalize. Or the people just we push to the periphery. Right? Mashiach is not the person who everybody wants to be around. Rabbi said this is a tremendous, tremendous thing, because sometimes the people who we just marginalize, push to the periphery, and don't give the time of day, those people are often the holiest of the holy. Tremendous idea. So Mashiach, again, is a leper sitting by the entranceway of Rome. So Rabbi Shmuel says, so new, how can I figure out who he is? How can I figure out who he is? The Gemara says, V'kulan sharu v'asir b'chad zimna. So you'll see the lepers have to change their bandages. So the way it works is generally, again, lepers change their bandages all at once. Okay? You'll notice, by the way, Ihu shari chad v'asir chad. Mashiach only changes his bandages one bandage at a time. Now, why is that? Listen to this. Dilma miva'ina delo Yaakov. Because, again, he's concerned that what's going to happen. What happens if he gets the call? Right? So Mashiach's on call. So what happens if he gets the call? Here's the issue. If all of his bandages are off and Hashem says, okay, go, it's going to be late because he has to wrap up everything. So instead what he does is he only bandages one, or unbandages and rebandages one wound at a time. This way, he's never out of commission for a prolonged amount of time. We'll say tremendous. So first of all, tremendous in that you see how Mashiach himself is literally ready to go. He's ready to go. Varai only changes his bandages one at a time. I will say there's also a tremendous metaphor in this. Many of us walk around life with many different wounds, and many different things that we have to heal. There's the Yetzer Hara sometimes to try to heal everything at once. I'm going to identify everything that's broken, and I'll just heal it all at once. Life doesn't work that way. The best way to heal your wounds, your personalistic wounds, is one at a time. Decide what you want to heal. Right? How you want to heal it. Heal that first. Once you heal one wound, like Mashiach, then move on to the next. Because the problem just is often when you unbandage all of the stuff you got to heal and you look at yourself in the mirror, all the stuff that's broken, all the stuff that's wounded, all the stuff that's in a state of disrepair, it can become overwhelming, and that's when yeyosh, that's when despair sets in and I give up. But one bandage at a time, one wound at a time, one broken bone at a time, and slowly but surely over time you begin to heal yourself. Incredible. Azal Gabe. So Shimon Levi says, I found Mashiach. I said, can you imagine that? Can you just imagine what that must have been like? So, even if he's not, right, he's not, so to speak, he's not coming yet, right? He hasn't revealed himself yet. He's not like, but Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi found Mashiach. He found him. Azal Gabe. Amrle. Shalom Alecha Rabbi Umori. So that the day is going to come. The day will come. The Mashiach will stand before us, and we too will be Zochem Hashem to say Shalom Alecha Rabbi Umori. Can you imagine when that's going to happen? Mashiach comes, and before he does anything, he's just going to say, I don't know how we're going to know. Somehow, but we're going to know. And he's just going to stand there, and we're just going to say those words, Shalom Alecha Rabbi Umori. I've been waiting 2,000 years to say those words. And just being able to say those words to Mashiach before he does anything will be such a soothing balm for the collective soul of Am Yisroel. So Rabbi Shmuel Levi says, Shalom Alecha Rabbi Umori. Amalei, Shalom Alecha Bar Levi. Shalom Aleichem to you. Bar Levi means Ben Levi. It's Rabbi Shmuel Levi. Shalom Alecha Bar Levi. Amalei, Le'emas Asimar. So Rabbi Shmuel Levi says, he skips the pleasantries. He's like, let's get to it. He's like, let's get to it. When are you coming? When are you coming? Right? We need you. When are you coming? So Amrale Hayom. Wow. Mashiach says, I'm coming today. I'm coming today. So I will say, that's it. Rabbi Shmuel Levi is like, I'm good. I've got nothing else. He goes back. Apparently, he goes back to Eliyahu Hanavi. Asla Gabe Eliyahu. So see now, whether this means he went back to Eliyahu at the entrance, by the grave of Rashbi, right, by the grave of Rashbi, or somewhere else, we don't know. But again, he goes back to Eliyahu. Amrle, my Amrlecha. So Eliyahu says to Rabbi knew what happened. What did Mashiach tell you? So Amrle, Shalom Alecha Bar Levi. So first of all, say, it's like Mashiach said hello to me, right? He gave me Shalom. He said Shalom Alecha Bar Levi. To which Eliyahu says, Amrle, Afticha L'Chav L'Amad Da'asi. So first of all, that's a good sign because that means that you and your father have a portion of the world to come. In other words, the fact that Mashiach greeted you and mentioned your father's name, that's indicative of the fact that both you, Rabbi Yeshua, and your father, Levi, both have a portion in the world to come. So, okay, beautiful. Rabbi Shmuel Silber says, I'm a bit heartbroken. Why? Amrlei, Shakuri Kashakar. Mashiach lied to me. Mashiach lied to me. Keeling Mar says, the Amar li hayom asina v'lo asa. Mashiach told me he's coming today and he didn't come. I will say, isn't that overwhelming? Right? Rabbi Shmuel Levi feeling lied to him. Mashiach told me he's coming today and he did not come. Elionov says, no, he did not lie to you. Amar lei, hachi amar lecha, hayom im bekolo tishmu. What Mashiach was telling you was, I'm ready to come today. I'm ready to come every single day. If you Klal Yisrael, if you get your act together and do what you are supposed to do, Hayom, I'm ready to come today. Im bekolo tishmu. If we listen to the voice of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Mashiach wasn't lying. Mashiach is ready. He's changing his bandages one at a time so that he can be ready to redeem us. He is ready to come as long as we are ready to receive him. But to receive him, we have to do the necessary life work. Incredible. I'll say, what a Gemara. And of course, this goes with the narrative that we control the arrival of Messianic redemption. We control it, say. The lives we lead, the decisions we make, the things we do, the things we don't do, all of this controls the flow of Messianic redemption. Shalu Tamidav Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma. So the students asked Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma, Emasai ben David ba, when is Mashiach going to come? Yes, Mashiach Amar, Messiare Anisha Matavakshim Ani. Oh, so Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma said, you know what, I'll give you an answer, but I'm scared that you're going to ask me for a sign. I'm going to give you an answer, you're going to ask me for a sign. So therefore I don't want to answer it. Amar lo, Eino Matavakshim Chaos. I said, Rebbe, just answer the question, we will not ask for a sign from you. Okay. Amar le, L'chashiyipo Hasharazeh, V'yivneh, V'yipol v'yivneh, v'yipol v'ein mafsikin l'noso, ad sheben David ba. So he says, fine, I'll give you a sign. I'll give you a sign. I'll tell you when Mashiach is coming. Mashiach is going to come. Ultimately, again, when this wall falls down, when this gate falls down, and then it falls down the first time they rebuild it, it falls down the second time, and before they go ahead and they get to rebuild it, Mashiach is going to come. Mashiach is going to come. Look at Rashi for just a moment. Rashi says over here, Rashi says, Amrulei v'shadu b'chad zimna, matirin, Sharichad. No. Where is it? Asharazah, thank you. Sha'ir Romi, Shabir Romi. So again, this is a reference to Rome. So again, Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma says, what's going to happen? The gate of Rome will fall down, they'll rebuild it, right? It'll fall down again, they'll rebuild it, it'll fall down a third time. Before they get to rebuild it a third time, ultimately Mashiach will come. That's the sign, right? That's when Mashiach will come. Amru lo Rabbeinu, tein lanu os. He said, Rebbe, okay, fantastic. Give us a sign that that's true. Amru lahem v'lo kach amartem li shenetem mevakshim enu os. Rabbi Yosef said, this is what I told you. I knew you were going to ask me for a sign. I will say, well, what's the pshat over here? See, I will say, what ends up happening is Mashiach discussions get people very excited. So when people hear something, all they want is they want a confirmation. That's what this is. Rabbi Yosef ben Kisma, I knew this was going to work. That's why I said, I'll tell you about it. I won't have to give you notes. So then I said, Rabbi, you told us, but give us a sign. So Amr lo, Afa Pikein, Rabbi, I got it. You told us not giving us a sign, but come on, just give us a sign. Amr lohem, Imkach yahapchu me ma'aras pamyas ledam, v'nepchu ledam. So also, Rabbi Yosef ben Kisma said, if the waters of the pamyas, right, the waters of the pamyas turn to blood. Now the pamyas is the body of water that feeds the Jordan. Feeds the Yarden. If the pamyas turns to blood, that'll show you that what I'm saying is correct. And sure enough, the pamyas turned to blood. Incredible. B'shas petiraso, at the time that Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma was dying, he said, Amr lahem, hamikul li aroni. Make sure to bury my coffin very deep in the ground. Amud beis. Why? Shein kol dekel v'dekel shabababo, shein sus shal parasim nikshabo. Because when I die, Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma said, our enemies are going to overrun the land. And there's going to be so many Persian horses that every single palm tree will have a Persian horse tethered to it. And we're going to be overrun by the Persians, the Medians, that's what? They're going to dig up our caskets and use our caskets as food troughs for their horses. So therefore Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma said, bury me very deep in the earth so that they won't dig up my casket. Amarav, in Ben David ba'ashet espashet hamalchus al Yisrael tisha chadashim. Ben David Mashiach only comes when Rome, the monarchy of Rome, extends itself over Klal Yisrael. By the way, I want to point out, when we talk about Rome, Rome means Edom. Rome means Edom. Rome doesn't have to be historical Rome, right? It could be anything that is a derivative of Rome. So Mashiach comes only after Klal Yisrael is oppressed by the Malchus of Rome for 9 months. Shneimar lachem yitneim ad es yolda v'yita echav yeshuvan b'nei Yisrael ula yasi v'lo echaymina. Both say this is incredible. Now we come to a totally different motif. Ula said, Yaisi, I hope so much. Let Mashiach come, but I don't want to see it. Now, what does Am Yisroel say? What Ula is saying is, I recognize the amount of suffering that is going to precede Messianic redemption. So, I hope and I daven for Mashiach all the time, but I don't want to see it. I don't want to be here to experience all of the suffering that is going to precede Messianic redemption. Let Mashiach come, I don't want to see it. Rav Yosef says, Yaisi va'aski di Yosef betula dekufisa dechamre. Rav Yosef says, let Mashiach come, and I'll be happy to sit literally again in the shade of the excrement of Mashiach's donkey. Now, what does that mean? Rav Yosef, so what that means is like this. Rav Yosef says, essentially, bring it. I know that the days that precede Mashiach are going to be difficult, but I'll deal with it. I'll deal with the suffering. Just bring Mashiach already. So we'll say, so just two totally different rabbinic takes on whether or not they want to be here to see the suffering which precedes Mashiach. I'm going to Abaye the Rava. My time. So I'll say, so what is this? What is it that's going on over here? Right? If it's about ultimately again, then what is it when these Rabbanim say, let Mashiach come, but I don't want to see it. I don't want to be here to experience this. So what's the problem? If it's because of the suffering, chavlo shel Mashiach, right? If it's about the suffering which precedes Messianic era, v'atanya, shalu talmidav Rabbi Elozer, ma yaseh adam v'yinatzal mechavlo shel Mashiach. What should a person do to save himself from the trials and travails of Mashiach, right? What should a person do to save himself from the suffering which precedes Messianic redemption? Yasok baTorah u'b'gemilos chasadim. Wow. I will say, what should you do to save yourself from the trials and tribulations for pre-Messianic era? Engage in Torah and Chesed. Torah and Chesed. I will say, now, first of all, what does this even mean? That Torah, we'll come back to it. Torah and Chesed save you from the suffering of pre-Messianic era. Umar ha-Torah v'gemilas chasadim. And ultimately, I will say, remember again, the Gemara says, right, Rava, right, you have all this stuff. You have Torah, you have Chesed. So what are you worried about? What are these Rabbanim worried about? They have Torah, they have Chesed. If that's the case, they're going to be saved from any type of suffering which precedes Messianic era. Amralei Shema Yigra Machit. I might have the requisite merits now, but I'm concerned that maybe I'll commit an Avera. And I will say sometimes one Avera could wipe out a lifetime of merit. So right now I may have the merit of Torah and Chesed in order to escape the suffering of pre-Messianic era. But maybe I'll sin, it'll wipe out my merit, and then I'll be subject to the suffering of pre-Messianic era. The Gemara says, listen to this. Rabbi Yaakov Bar Idi, Ramiksid, the Pasuk says as follows, By Yaakov Avinu, Hine Anochi Machu Shmartecha B'chol Asher Telech. Because Baruch Hu promises Yaakov Avinu, I got your back. I will watch you, and I will guard you everywhere you go. And yet it also says, Uksiv, when Yaakov was about to encounter Esav, Vayira Yaakov Ma'od Vayitzer Lo. Yaakov was very afraid. Now, what's the pshat? If Hashem says to Yaakov, I've got you, you have nothing to worry about, I have your back, you have absolutely nothing to worry about, then why is Yaakov so afraid? To which the Gemara answers, Shai Misyari Shema Yigro Machet. Ultimately, Yaakov Avinu was scared that although he possessed the requisite merit, maybe he would do something that would cause that merit to be erased. He would sit there, which Shabbos say, by the way, is such a kedisanya. Before we get to this, Shabbos say, just such a profound yesod, which is, this is part of Chazal's motif of al tamin ba'atzmacha ad yom moscha. Do not believe in yourself until the day that you die. Because no matter how many zechus, how much merit I have racked up and accrued and acquired for myself, which is incredible, I could lose it. You really can. And one bad decision could wipe out so much merit. So you see, great people, as great as they are, live with this state of existential fear that I may wipe out all of my accrued and acquired merit. As the Gemara says, Kedisanya, Ad Yavarim Hashem, Zubi Arishona. This is the first, when we first came to Eretz Yisrael with Yoshua, Ad Yavarim Zukanisa, Zubi Yishnia. This is with the second, I was going to say the second coming, but that doesn't sound like the right. It refers to the second arrival in Eretz Yisrael with Ezra. Amar Me'ata, Re'uyim hayu Yisrael lasos lam neis b'biyah shniya kabiyah rishona ela shegaram hachet. Rather, you're going to say the same way that Klal Yisrael came into Eretz Yisrael with incredible miracles with Yoshua, we were supposed to come into Eretz Yisrael with incredible miracles with Ezra as well, but because of the sinful behavior of the Jewish people, we did not get that miraculous protection. We'll stop over here for today. We're going to continue with Mirasach, overwhelming Gemara today. Overwhelming Gemara. Mashiach continues tomorrow. I will say, by the way, how incredible is it to learn Sugyas of Mashiach? Because again, even though Mashiach is not yet here, when we learn Mashiach Gemaras, we have the opportunity to experience a little bit of Mashiach each and every morning together. Shkayach, everyone. All right, God bless you. Have a great day, everyone. We're going to share. Yes. Can you set up the microphone?
Yeah, I think it's...
So, and we could adjust the things so that it's only in the shul. It was funny. I didn't realize last week that it was...
Choose your source of sound. So I turned it on here and turned it on there. You just kept playing with it.
Right. Steve came in.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam